All right, all right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you guys for being on this live broadcast with us once again. Always appreciate every one of you. So we're here today. As you know, James is always in the background making things happen. Also, we have today is Mr. Jason Wong, one of our executive leaders as well. So, look, guys, a lot of things are happening today. We have a lot to talk about. I know I'm excited. I know you guys are excited, right? Bitcoin cracked 10,000 like we thought it would this week as we approach the halving in a couple of days. So that's good news. And so I'm excited about that. And I hope you guys are as well. So Jason, what do you think about this 10,000 price that happened this past couple of days, man? How you liking that?
I love it, Gosha.
I'm sure
You
you
know,
do.
so I was so excited, that I stay up on the phone with Don and Jen, until late into the night. But here's the biggest thing, right? Uh, we know that for the last couple of halvings, um, people get into a hyper, exciting stage, and then it kind of pumps up the price, and then they started to suffer some of those, after having, price depression. So, um, if history repeats itself, we might see that, in this halving. So I always say to be prepared for the worst, but also hope for the best. I mean, I see this having might have a little bit of a different scenario that is playing out, because we have the government that is, having these unlimited quantitative easing. So they are printing out money at will. Number one, right? We just have a couple of trillions of dollars of stimulus money that are, pumping into the economy. So that is a positive for, Bitcoins, because that's the whole reason why Bitcoin was created, because, it is not centrally governed. So there is a finite of supplies. But also, secondly, this pandemic really make people think, hey, you know what? If we put our money into a traditional asset class, right? Um, and obviously it's being affected and will be affected. People are looking for hatching opportunities. So I'm kind of curious to see how this particular halving is going to be playing out in the next couple of months. So, but overall, I'm super excited, and I like the actions that I'm seeing on the marketplace. I love it when I mine every day. When I wake up, I know I'm getting a couple $100 worth of bitcoins on a daily basis. So mining like a boss, guys.
That's awesome, man. You know what? I definitely agree with you. I was talking to our CEO maybe last week sometime, and so I had the same thought process like you do. This particular halving is different because of what's going on in our environment with all the money printing. and the way things are right now with the economy. So I think this halving may have a different outcome in a good way. It's a positive thing. I think the gains that we're going to see after this halving is going to be tremendously more or higher than the last halving, right? For example, the last halving, when it happened 4 years ago, the Bitcoin price was $600. And so I want people to put that in perspective, right? So here we are 4 years later at $10,000. So we're coming from $600, excuse me, to $10,000. So if history repeats itself, or even if it rhymes, right? What do you expect the Bitcoin price is going to be, going forward? So I like it. I absolutely love it. And I hope, everyone that's involved with our company and also that's involved in the space in general, I know you guys are excited as well because, we were talking about this last week that we think that the price, could get to 10,000, which is a very strong psychological barrier, the
Mm-hmm.
$10,000 mark. And so, once I saw that, I knew that the strength behind this particular push is a very strong one. Now, let's not kid ourselves. Just like our CEO says, after the particular halving, right, we're gonna go through a pain point. That's gonna happen. People are gonna take profits.
Yep.
Miners are gonna go into business. And actually, I have a very powerful interview I want to play with for you guys towards the end of this broadcast. That's going to pretty much solidify what our CEO and our executive team been talking about for the past few months in terms of how we are positioning ourselves and the things that we have done and the steps that we have taken as a company to make sure that when this halving take place, that we come out on the other side a stronger, a better company in position to dominate this market. And that's what people have to understand. That's what we're doing. We're doing this to position ourselves to dominate this mining market. And the things that we've done, the things that you guys have done, Jason, you and Jin and the CEO, the things that you guys have in place, our new data center in Calgary, one of the largest data centers in the world, right? So we're doing things to make sure that our customers, our client can be tremendously beneficial on the other side of this halving. And so that interview that we're going to play for you guys is going to be a very powerful interview. And I want you guys to really listen to the things that you're talking about. And it's almost like when I listen to it, it's like I heard my CEO talking. They're saying the same things that he has been saying for the past few months. And so I think it's important for you guys to realize that it's not just us that's saying these things. The professionals that's in the space, guys that's been doing this since the beginning, are saying the same things and seeing the same outcome and the same outlook that our CEO is talking about. So, Jason, also, I want to talk to you
Yep.
about our press release that got published on Yahoo Finance. Talk about that.
So, VBit Technologies is, the mother company, and it has a subsidiary called VBit Data Center. And the data center's primary job is to go out there and source out, the best of breed of data center, and the with the best electricity prices, right, around the world in a politically stable environment. And I must stress that as a key point here, because you can go to a lot of different third world countries where they can promise you super low energy price, but only to realize that after you set up your shops, uh, the government or the rebels can come in and say, "Hey, guess what? Get out of here. We're taking over this," and you have nothing to say, right? Because they're coming in with guns. So we all of our data centers that we operate in are operated in a political stable environments, in countries like the U.S. or Canada, um, and where we can source out the lowest possible electricity price. So we successfully raised over $1 million to break grounds on our Calgary, Canada site, where they offer some of the lowest energy prices over there that we have negotiated. And this particular site allows us to expand up to 200 megawatts. That would put us in into the maps of one of the largest Bitcoin operating farms in the world for sure. So we have a great opportunities that are ahead of us. The publications was actually published first by one of the very reputable news agencies and blockchain research company called The Block. And they first, published it, and it got picked up by Yahoo Finance and a whole host of many other news agencies around the U.S. and around the world. I actually seen articles that were published in Portuguese as well as Russians.
Nice,
So,
very nice.
sure.
One of the things that I was truly excited about to see. So when I first saw the article in Yahoo Finance, I saw it on a couple other publications, and that was awesome. I was excited. But then when I saw it on Yahoo Finance, I lost my mind, because Yahoo Finance is a mainstream publication, right? It's not,
Sure.
it's not just, say for example, a publication that's in the cryptocurrency space that only talks about, cryptocurrency in general, right? Yahoo Finance is a tremendously respected publication when it comes to finance and things like
For
that.
sure. Yeah.
So when I saw it on Yahoo Finance, I was like, whoa, that is huge. And what I realized from that, Jason, I'm sure you probably
That's my
realized
daughter, Jolie. Sorry.
what I realized is once that article was published,
That's my other daughter in the year. Sorry, Gershom.
hello, we start to get a lot of emails about the company, and
Sure.
people are like, wow, we want to come check out you guys, see what you guys are doing. We're interested to
Yep.
do some stuff with you people. So I'm so excited about that. Like this past week, I've been just on cloud nine, because not only did we publish our newsletter, our press release, and got it published on Yahoo Finance, but then with the Bitcoin price and the halving coming up, but
Yeah.
then I saw these emails coming in from parties in the industry that wants to talk to a CEO, wants to talk to an executive team, and want to sit down and maybe do some partnership and things like that. I'm like, yes, I love it. So yeah, I'm super excited about that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we already received a couple of emails and contacts from some of the bigger players out there that wanted to form some kind of a partnership and are interested in doing business with our data center side. So it's definitely exciting. And like I say, Gershom, like what you're saying earlier, it really give us, a lot more credibility, right? Because you have some of these very, very well respected news agencies that are in the crypto space that picks up about our successes, in terms of the first initial funding rounds. So it definitely put us in the radar now. So we're excited, and we're continues to work very, very hard for our members to source out the best deals for our members so that we can host our mining machines. Um, I know that Don works really, really hard because some of our manufacturers and our suppliers and our strategic partners, they're in a completely different time zones. So oftentimes, Don works overnight for us and over the weekends for us so that we can get in touch with the right people. So absolutely, great
Yeah.
news.
I can definitely attest to how hard our CEO works. I know so many nights I'm leaving the office and it could be 11 o'clock and he's still here working. And I come back in the office the next morning, like 7:30, and he's just leaving to go home to shower. And then he's back in the office again by like maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely can attest to how hard a CEO works to make sure the company is in the best position possible and to make sure that our members and our customers can benefit to the max. So yes, absolutely. Um, so let's switch gears for a little bit, Jason. Another big time hedge fund guy, just announced that he is now going to take up a position in Bitcoin. And when he announced it, Wall Street went crazy
Mm-hmm.
because this is a guy, right, that is revered by Wall Street. He's one of the most respected hedge fund guys in the business. So when he said, hey, you know what? The way things are right now, I don't have a choice. I have to get into Bitcoin. And you know what he said? He said the way he see Bitcoin right now is the way he saw gold back in the 70s, right?
Mm.
So in 1971, President Nixon took us off the gold standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we had the true fiat currency, the US dollar. But
Mm-hmm.
also there was a lot of turmoil in the 70s. There were very high inflation. There was a gas shortage. There were riots. I mean, the 70s was a very, intense period for the country. But what happened with gold in the 70s, gold had a 3,000% gain in the 70s, right? So I think it went from like 30 something dollars to over $1,000+ Yeah, like from 31, $32 to like $1,200, something like that. I don't remember the exact
Mm.
number, but they had like 3,000% gain. So he's saying that, hey, look, I see Bitcoin right now, just like I saw what gold, the position gold was in the 70s. So think about it. Can
Mm.
you imagine if Bitcoin were to have a 3,000% gain from where it is right now in the next, let's just say, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years? What would that look like?
Wow.
Right? So,
I would tell you that would make a lot of our members very, very happy, and it would put them in such a great financial positions
yeah,
for sure. And that's really the what we set out to do when we started the company. So
yeah. It's the thing is, you know, the th- so the mainstream people, right? The Wall Street guys and whatnot, a lot of them want to get involved with Bitcoin because they recognize the potential and what it's going to do, right? But they're they're a little bit timid. So when someone like this guy, right, when he says Tudor Jones, when he said that he's getting into Bitcoin, then the way I see it, he is going to open the gate. He's going to be the one that now they can justify getting into Bitcoin because now they can say, hey, if Paul Tudor Jones is getting the Bitcoin, hello, who am I? This guy is the most successful hedge fund guy in the world. And if he can see the benefit that his clients can get from Bitcoin, then why shouldn't we take that same leap, right? So,
Gershom, you make such a great point, and I kind of want to piggyback off of that. Um, Oftentimes, when we hear and see the Wall Street main player start getting behind a particular, um, you know, vehicles, right? Particular products or something, it's always almost after the fact. Almost always after the fact, right? And by the time you hear a buy recommendation, for example, coming out of I don't know, City Securities or some of those big Wall Street, stock, brokers, trackers, analysts. It's almost after the fact that they already invested a ton of money in there because they give their clients or their inner circle the first step. All right. So by the time they're going to come out and say, hey, you know what? Or Jamie Dimon or Fidelity was already in it. It's already too late.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I found out in the last couple of days? I was actually looking at a Bitcoin mining company that is publicly traded, very small company, publicly traded, right? And when I look into who actually owns shares in that company, they were some of the biggest institutional players that own shares in that company.
Mm-hmm.
So did they come out and announce it? Hey, you know what? We believe in Bitcoins, or we believe in particularly the mining part of the value chain out of the whole, ecosystem? No, they did not. They quietly put money in there, right? And then wait until that they're ready to come out and announce it in a big way. That's already too late for the most of us.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I am so excited, to have VP Technologies as one of the, platform for the average folks like you and me, because it makes mining so easy and makes, give us the opportunity to get on to this, Bitcoin phenomenon for everyday folks. You don't have to have, or you don't need to have millions of hundreds of thousands of dollars to get involved. You can get started with us with just $150.
Yeah.
And by the time, honestly, don't just believe, or don't wait until the TV station to announce that, oh, so and so just got involved with Bitcoins, or so and so company just bought a big stack, huge, shares in Bitcoin companies or mining company. That's already too late, and they're already doing that.
Yes.
So you don't want to wait for the announcement.
It's funny, as you were saying that, I was thinking, and it's very unfortunate too, by the way, how so many people will come across an opportunity and they won't take it, right? And then once the mainstream people start talking about it, that's when they want to get involved. And by that time, like I said, it's too late.
That's exactly what you don't want to do.
Absolutely. There you go. When the mainstream people start talking about it and start, saying that, hey, you should get involved with this or you should do that. When the mainstream guys start talking about it, it's too late.
Yeah, that's when you buy high and sell low. You want to do the opposite.
And people do it all the time. And so our members right now are super fortunate to be in this position with us. And not also not trying to be a part of the crowd that's trying to, go in and buy the Bitcoin and then have to deal with all the volatility. The benefit of us is you just mine and sit back and, collect your Bitcoin every day. And, the price volatility, you don't worry about it. Can you imagine, you buy Bitcoin at $10,000 and then in a couple of months or so, it's down to like $5,000, right? But as a miner, that $5,000 drawdown is really nothing. It's just part of how the technology is because of the newness of the technology, right? So you don't worry about that. But if you spend $10,000 and you see $10,000 is now $5,000, you're gonna sell because you figure, okay, you know what? I need to cut my loss. I don't want to see go to 3,000, right? So you're gonna cut your loss, and when you do that, you lost $5,000. But if you're a miner, you don't worry about it because in the next couple of months it's gonna be at 15,000.
That's right.
So you don't worry about it like that. So Yes,
I just let it ride because I know every day I'm getting a little bit of Bitcoins every day. And I was just checking on my wallet. I got $198 worth of Bitcoins
that's what's
just on
up.
my own account.
Just just for the literally like you do nothing. You did the work up front. You purchased the machine,
That's right.
and then from there you don't that's it.
I
That's
let the VBIT team manage the machine for me. You know,
awesome. That's great, man.
yeah.
Um, so guess who is getting involved with Bitcoin mining these days?
Who's that?
Iran. Iran just issued a license to one of their entrepreneurs over there to set up a 6,000 rig mining farm in Iran.
Wow.
Yeah, so well, their economy has they're going to do some stuff right now. Their currency is taking a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the economy over there, you know, is going through some problems, and so mining Bitcoin is a way out for them. And so that's just to me, that's just another sign that we are in the right game. We're in the right
Mm-hmm.
place at the right time because when you see a country like Iran is now saying, hey, you know what? Because for a very long time, they were cracking down on Bitcoin miners. They were cracking down so hard on Bitcoin miners that guys were literally setting up mining rigs inside the mosque and they were hiding them
Mm.
because the government was cracking down on Bitcoin mining so much. But
Wow.
now they realize that first of all, they can't stop it. And second of all, the citizens want it because with their currency devaluing as much as it is, the citizens need a way out. So now they're pressured. We're to the point where they have to. And so they just licensed one of their people over there to open up a 6,000 rig mining farm over there.
Mm.
So you know, I think that's exciting news and just solidify what we're doing in terms of being in the Bitcoin mining space. You know, to see a place like Iran is saying, "Hey, you know what? We give up. You guys can go in and mine because we
Is
can't
it
stop it."
Iran the government or the citizens?
Well, the government issued the license, so the citizen had to get a license from the government in order to do the mining. So
Got you.
yeah.
Here's another great point about why we at VBIT only want to set up shops at a more politically, stable environment. We know in countries that are stable, politically unstable, right? Such as Iran, where it's going through a lot of internal issues as well as international issues with a lot of the countries. Um, every time when we put up or invest in a data center, we're talking about millions of dollars of equipments. Um, so you don't want all of that equipment to be at risk if a government one day and just turn around and say, "Hey, we deem that no longer to be legal, and we're confiscating all your equipment." What are you going to do? Your insurance is not gonna cover that, right?
Yeah.
So that is the reason why we only set up shops, at politically stable countries, such as the North America, Canada, U.S. Because it's the best way to protect our members.
Hmm.
There's no other way.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so on that note, I want us to listen to an interview that I listened to a couple of days ago on the Kaiser Report. And so this interview, we're going to play it for you guys. It's around 10 minutes long, but it's a very powerful interview. And I want you guys to really listen to what's being discussed in this interview. And you will see how what we're saying and what what our CEO has been saying for this past few months, how he's positioning the company to benefit from the Halving event that's going to happen in a few days. And as I'm listening to this interview, I said to myself, I think our members need to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to play the interview for you guys right now. It's around 10 minutes long. And then after the interview, Jason and I will get back on and we kind of talk about it. We'll maybe have you
Summarize it.
guys chime in, let us know what you guys think about it. But I think the information in this interview is going to really give you guys a little bit more of security in terms of our company and the things that we have done, the things that our executive team are all doing, our CEO, is vision and Jason's vision and Mr. Jin Gao's vision and everything that we're doing to make sure that this company is solid in this space. So James, if you don't mind, please go ahead, sir.
To the Kaiser Report, I'm Max Kaiser. Time now to go to Jason Williams. He's a co-founder and partner at Morgan Creek Digital. Jason, welcome to the Kaiser Report.
Hello, hello.
Great to have you on. Now, we wanted to get you on for one thing that's going on here is the halving. It's expected around May 11th in the Bitcoin halving. To explain briefly what that is for folks, and has it been priced in yet?
Yep. So the halving is a important event in the Bitcoin world where the allocation of Bitcoin gets cut in half. It's a devastating event for miners in that they have to have their businesses right or they will essentially go out of business. So what you're seeing right now is an exciting moment, a little bit of FOMO. People are buying into this event. My opinion is, though, we're going to have a sell the news puke and probably have a minor capitulation going into the halving, which causes the price to go down, some sell pressure. But amazing event, happens every 4 years, and this is Bitcoin's Olympics.
Yeah, cool. Bitcoin's Olympics. You know, you mentioned mining there, and you got into Bitcoin really mining and doing a lot of mining, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But to kind of broaden that a little bit, so I just saw a number basically that miners spent or were rewarded last year. I don't know how many billions of dollars, but this was positioned as this is the cost to secure the network. Mining secures the network. Explain what that means.
Yeah, so the hash rate that's contributing to mining Bitcoin, it costs money. So you have to purchase power, put that power through computers. Those computers cost money, and that money, those assets, that contribution of that hash rate all secures what is the blockchain of Bitcoin and secures those transactions. You're able to, for people like me who are investors in Bitcoin, arrive at a base price for Bitcoin. If you can start to look at the amount of hash rate that's contributed to the network. Most of us feel like here in North America, the floor for mining Bitcoin is around $5,000, $5,800. If you're in Kazakhstan or Iceland, could be lower. Some of the miners, like Genesis Mining, may even have lower base prices, but you're able to start to contemplate what the floor is on this thing, where it really brings the pain for miners if the price drops.
So it sounds like any other type of mining, gold mining, silver mining, cobalt mining, there's a cost to it. And if your profits don't exceed the cost, then you're going out of business. You know, this is interesting because a lot of people say Bitcoin's backed by nothing. Well, if that, you know, I know fiat money is backed by nothing, and the cost of creating $1 trillion of fiat by clicking on a computer key and adding some zeros, I know that is genuinely nothing. But in the Bitcoin area, actually, there is a cost. It is backed by something. Explain.
Yeah, I mean, it's backed by the cost of the computer. So back when I started mining Ethereum and Bitcoin, we were building GPUs, buying ASIC miners. Those miners back in S9 would cost you about $2,800 back in 2016. And, you know, you'd have to put together thousands of these computers to put together in a network, get on a mining pool. And you start taking 2,800 times 1,000, you can do the math. There's your hardware contribution. Then each of these computers takes about 1,250 watts of power times 1,000. Now you're buying nearly half a megawatt or a megawatt of power to run these things. That costs money. You get power bills at your home. So take that power bill, multiply it by 1,000. And these are real OPEX and CAPEX costs that legitimate business people are investing in the Bitcoin network. It is backed by real money, real investments, real power. And that's why this thing is not like our fiat dead money that we're dealing with today.
So in the gold mining business, as I dig deeper and deeper and deeper, my costs go up. So the value of that scarce resource, which I have to go get and go deeper to get it, goes up because people want it. It's hard money. I guess similarly with Bitcoin mining, even though the reward after the halving is cut in half, it goes from 12.5 to 6.25 BTC. The hope, of course, is that the value per Bitcoin goes up, because if in fact the halving happens and if the hash rate goes up, it's because it's becoming more scarce, it's becoming harder money, and in a world flooded with fiat money, there's going to be a demand for hard money. But you described this as very tricky for miners, and they have to get things very right, or we could see some miners go offline. And so describe what do you mean by that?
Yeah, Max, there are miners that are going to hit the wall come May 12th when the halving occurs, because their technology can't keep up with the difficulty that's occurring. So right now there's some percentage of miners that are running S9s or some technology that's similar to that. And those miners contribute about 13.5 terahash per second to the network. The next generation S17s that have been released by the ASICs producers contribute 58 terahash per second. So you've almost got this exponential efficiency through chipset technology advancements that's coming to the market. Miners who are in this game, the long hands, the people with low time preference, they've already switched out the old miners and put in the new technology. So they're prepared for the future, the next 4 years of mining. Those that didn't have the resources, were capital constrained, had been selling their Bitcoin to keep up with the depressed Bitcoin price and haven't made the CapEx expense to put in the new technology, they're done, totally done come May 12th or when the halving occurs, because they're going to be not able to mine any Bitcoin, and they still have the OPEX expenses of power, the hardware replacement. So these computers are scrap, Max, they're scrap.
And now you mentioned the difficulty. So let's talk about that a little bit. So the halving is one layer of the Bitcoin protocol stack. Another layer in that stack would be the difficulty adjustment. So every 2 weeks, the protocol essentially surveys what's happening out there and will either increase or decrease the difficulty at which it's to find a block. And a block happens every 10 minutes, and the rewards are paid out every 10 minutes. And the monetary policy of Bitcoin is to issue Bitcoins every single 10 minutes. But that difficulty adjustment, so the way you're describing it, if there's a lot of miners suddenly go offline and hash rate drops, then would we see a difficulty adjustment would essentially adjust for that, and you'd see a lowering in the adjustment, and the network would maintain the genius of this protocol, and that the 10-minute block time would continue unabated, right?
Yeah, Max, you've described it beautifully, and the genius that is Satoshi Nakamoto, or whomever that group of people is that represents that idea, they built the system to incentivize miners. So as difficulty increases, it's more competitive for us to be awarded Bitcoin with mining contribution. But if there was an event where miners came offline and there was less hash rate, the difficulty follows that to incentivize people to come back online or to stay online, because they're getting more of a share of the Bitcoin reward every 10 minutes. It's an amazing monetary policy that's algorithmically driven without a Fed, without Jerome Powell, without these, as you would call them, kleptocrats and all this crony capitalism. I mean, I wish we had more time to talk about PPP and all the rest of it, because I've just seen my friends, my family, our small businesses be absolutely decimated by putting me in a basement.
Right. Yeah, I wish we had a lot of time to talk about it. Maybe we'll do something on the podcast. But let's talk further about this difficulty. So the adjustment occurs in a way that would override any notion of a mining death spiral. So this was over the first few years of Bitcoin's life, there were Bitcoin advocates or personalities who would say, and mistakenly claim that a Bitcoin death spiral would occur because once the hash rate starts to go down and the profitability of mining goes down, it's a cascade effect, as you might see in the banking system. For example, if one bank goes down, it takes a lot of banks down. But what we've discovered really several years into the project, right? This wasn't obvious day one. It was only obvious several years later, again, to this genius of Satoshi here, that if in fact a lot of miners go offline, the protocol somehow figures out the sweet spot to get greedy miners to commit capital to go try to make Bitcoin, right?
Isn't that how capitalism and free markets work? If there's an opportunity to put money to work and make a return on that investment, smart business people do that all day, right, Max?
Right. So, and the goal of the miner is to get the reward. So they've got to solve the hash. And that means you add a block onto the chain, which has all the transactions of the last 10 minutes. They're verified by the nodes. The miner gets to add to the block, get the reward, and they have to solve for that hash. And just, to describe how this works, so it's the solving of the hash. It's a brute force calculation barrage, trillions and trillions, as you point out. I think the hash rate now is in the quintillions, hundreds of quintillions or thousands of quintillions. But those are guesses. They're guessing at the solution that's being put forward by the protocol. And that hash rate, if the price keeps going up and the hash rate keeps going up, and the nonce, which is that number that they're chasing, continues to get smaller. It's interesting because the hardest money in the world is produced by chasing an ever smaller fraction of a number. Jason.
Max, one would think that the price goes up in that scenario as Bitcoin, as more hash rate continues to be added to the network, as the difficulty continues to rise, as the reward continues to shrink. You get this supply and demand shock that's constantly hitting the network. The price has to go up. This is math, not my opinion.
As more hash rate continues to be
Did you call me?
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the Kaiser Report, Jason Williams of Morgan Creek Digital.
My pleasure.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the Kaiser Report with me, Max Kaiser, and Stacey Herbert. I'd like to thank our guest, Jason Williams. As I said, he's over there at Morgan Creek Digital. If you want to catch us at Twitter, it's tweet us at Kaiser Report. Until next time, bye, y'all. Hi, I'm Max.
All right, we're back on. James? I don't see Jason on his, is Jason still there? You there, Jason?
Yes, I am. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so guys, I wanted to share that interview with you for a number of reasons. Number one, I remember when our CEO announced that he was going to switch out our miners and get us the S17s.
Yep.
And at the time, I didn't fully grasp the significance of that. But then, when I was watching this interview, I realized, well, I knew before now because he explained to me, why that was important. But I was watching the interview, I realized that, wow, that guy, he really thinks ahead. he's always thinking, he's always trying to figure out the best way to do things. I have so much respect for him. But also, I remember when you and him were talking about, getting ahead of this coronavirus when this happened, and bringing in those miners and
Yep.
get them to our data center in Canada. And
Yep.
so I wanted to share that interview with our members, and those who may be listening who maybe not be members, to give you guys an idea of what kind of company we are, and our CEO and our leadership team, how we taking a long view, right, and seeing things before they happen, and positioning ourselves to make sure that we can benefit and our members can benefit to the maximum on a long-term basis. But I'm interested to hear your take on the interview, Jason. What do you think about what they were talking about?
Well, the host and the guests, were right on, and it is going to get more and more difficult. A lot of the S9 mining machines or older generations are going to go out of business. They're going to have to turn those off because I'll tell you one little facts with our data center in Canada alone. Our monthly electricity bill is approximately $120,000. That's just to get started on a monthly basis. So imagine, right? If your machines are not making enough Bitcoins to cover your basic electricity bills, let alone all the rent and all the full-time equivalents, the people that you have to hire on the ground to maintain those machines, forget about it. You're not going to stay in business. You would rather turn those off, right? You can't take that big of a gamble. So we understand that, Don understand that. So that's why he's always planning ahead. And, along with Jen and myself and Don, we actually kind of take you back a couple of months. When I first heard about this coronavirus, it was, somewhere around actually in November timeframe. And I have another business. I happen to have a staff that actually went back to China to visit her family. And she was actually in the epicenters, Wuhan province, right? So when I messaged her, I was looking through, my very, first message that I messaged her. I said, hey, I just heard about this new disease or virus that are circulating around. So be careful. At the time she was there, and the news obviously is very restrictive, right? She was like, oh no, don't worry about it, no such thing, but we kept monitoring it, and to a point where when we had our partners meeting, Don, Jin, and myself, we were like, hey, you know what, it'll be a good idea for us to actually put in a larger order than what we normally would do, because I do see the supply chain is going to get disrupted. And sure it did. So we're very fortunate that we were able to put in a larger order. So we were one of the first actual recipients to receive these machines in North America area.
Awesome. One of the main reasons why I wanted us to watch that interview is, sometimes you can get like trapped in a bubble, where you kind of like hearing the information, but because we're all in this space and we're involved with this company, sometimes people may think that we're saying these things just to maybe get them to be members or whatever the case may be, right? But I wanted people to understand that the things that we talk about, the things that you talk about, the things that our CEO talk about, the mining difficulty and how that works and why that's important. What could potentially happen after the halving, all those things that we talk about. It's always refreshing to hear it from a third party that has nothing to do with what we're doing, but they're involved in the space and they're professionals, and to have them to hear them having the same perspective and having the same outlook and seeing things the same way that we've been talking about. I felt like that would be important to let our members know that you guys are with a solid company that's doing things the right way, that has leadership who are visionaries and who are taking steps ahead of what other people are doing, because like the person was saying in the interview, those miners that still have those S9, they're going to be in trouble, right? But for us who have the S17s, we're going to flourish, right?
That's right.
So,
Yep.
Love that. So that's awesome stuff, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, unless you don't have to pay for electricity costs, most of those S9s are not going to be profitable. They're going to shut those off.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. All right, Jason. I think that's going to bring us towards the end. So, James, do you see any questions out there, either on Facebook or YouTube?
No questions at the moment, but there's been a lot of people watching this episode for some reason. I mean, well, lots of reasons to watch, but just really appreciate all the viewership, guys. There's a lot more people commenting.
Nice.
And just being in here, tuning in. We had over 20 throughout, so thanks again, VBit family, for hanging out with us.
Very nice, very nice. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
We always appreciate you guys. Without you guys, there won't be any us. And so you guys need to understand how much we appreciate every one of you. And the company is in the best hands it could possibly be in. Guys like Jason, Mr. Danvo, Mr. Jingao, these guys are visionaries. They look out for the customers. It's funny. I was telling Katie the other day, we were talking, and I said, one of the things I love about our company, the way the company is designed, is customer centric. It's almost like the company is designed around our customers. Everything that we do, every decision that our CEO makes, he's always thinking about putting the customer first, what's going to benefit our members. And I don't know if there's many companies out there like that. So I'm very proud. I'm very happy to be a part of this company, what we're doing. And I know her members are very happy. They're seeing their mining, they're getting their mining every day. They're seeing their Kabul, balance going up. I mean, everybody's just happy. And, if you're out there listening to us and maybe you're wondering, what we do and how you can be a part of it, please, don't hesitate. Reach out to us. Go to our website, vbitmining.com. If you know someone who's a member of this company, reach out to them, have them explain things to you. We have webinars throughout the week. You can get that information also on the website. So yeah, that being said, Jason, and then last words for the people.
No, just stay safe, guys. We're in Eastern Pennsylvania. I mean, it looks like the stay-at-home order just got extended to June. So please.
I know. What's up with that, man? To June. Ouch.
I know. But fortunately, Gershom, with our business, we can still go out and sell packages and spread the news. I know just yesterday, one of our leaders sold a black diamond package, which is $50,000, and that person is looking to get 4 additional black diamonds. So we're talking about 200,000. 4. I'm sorry, 4 total black diamonds. So $200,000. That's correct.
That is sweet.
So, pandemic doesn't stop us, right? So, which is a great and fortunate position to be in for us.
Absolutely. All right. With that being said, Mr. Wong, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. As always, thank you guys for viewing with us today and being a part of this family. We love and appreciate each and every one of you. Our next live stream is going to be Monday at 5:30. So please make sure you guys join us for that. And as you guys know, we have our regular webinars. We have a Monday night webinar for compensation structure webinar. Then we have our Tuesday training. So Monday's 9 o'clock, Tuesday 7:30. And then our Thursday evening webinar at 8 o'clock again. And then we're back here Friday at 5:30, okay? All right, guys, have a great weekend. You guys take care of yourselves. Be safe. And we'll see you guys on Monday. You guys take care.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.